The name of the lecture is Getting Out of the Pits, and I expanded the pits from when I learned about it 20 years ago. First of all, by the way, Dasani, Coca-Cola, they're getting rid of the aspartame and they're putting stevia in the Coca-Cola. So that'll make everybody feel better. There are references from my lecture that you may get from Tracy. I have several pages, and they're over here on the table right now. If you learn the acronym PITS, it will help you handle and solve most of your patients' problems. The alternative to the PITS is the name it, blame it, and tame it game, which so many of us are taught when we get out of medical school. That's who I am. This poor lady is in the pits, and sometimes to get out of the pits you need an aid, and her aid is a crutch. This is me on the golf course. I consider sand traps the pits. And that reminds me, just before I flew down here, my wife's going to join up with me, and she's afraid of flying, and she's going to take a separate plane, and she said, if my plane crashes, are you going to remarry? And I said, well, maybe. And she said, well, if you remarry, is the new wife going to live in our house? And I said, well, it's paid for, so most likely. And she said, well, is she going to drive my red sports car? And I said, well, that's paid for too, probably. And she says, well, when you take her to the country club, is she going to play with my golf clubs? And I said, no, she's left-handed. All right, P's for poor nutrition. One man's food is another man's poison. Not everyone should eat the same food. The father of medicine, Hippocrates, said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. A very simple example is cherries and gouty arthritis. There are a million more. The father of pharmacology, Paracelsus, said, God put everything on earth to make you healthy. Our job is to find it. Now, you might eat all the healthy food in the world, but if you don't digest it, it can become your enemy. If you don't have stomach acid, the protein gets putrefied. You can reflux it. You could pass it into your small intestine, where it will cause a leaky gut syndrome. It will feed the wrong germs, and they'll have a field day. I just came back from my autism conference in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and you learn in autism that casein and gluten can become morphine substances in your brain in these children that don't digest their food properly. So try to eat as natural as possible. Avoid food colorings, preservatives, additives. And Dr. Feingold said this years ago. It is now being accepted by the medical community, the other medical community. In my office, we test digestion. We have a computer called a Heidelberg that measures the acid in your stomach or the lack thereof. And if you have some acid in your stomach, then we then challenge that acid with some baking soda and water. And that tells me if you need enzymes or acid, which is a very common problem once you get to be my age. The HIDA scan I do after I do an ultrasound of a gallbladder because I don't want to stimulate a gallbladder that has stones, polyps, or sludge in it. And a HIDA scan takes 90 minutes at the hospital, and it measures the ejection fraction of your gallbladder. If you don't digest your fats, you're going to be very unhealthy. And then there are several companies here, and I do these comprehensive digestive stool analysis tests, which are very helpful. And even the most modern one now has DNA technology, which is very helpful. You just heard, by the way, this is sort of a redundancy of what you just heard, but this is a way to remember how to look for those different things. Your diet can affect gene expression. Deficiencies in essential fatty acids, minerals such as zinc, and glyconutrients such as mannose affect your immune system. Now, if you don't have acid in your stomach, you're not going to digest your protein. You're not going to absorb your minerals. And then where are you? So you have goals. Your goals are to rotate your foods. There's rotational diets that you see with food allergies, which we do on a regular basis. And it's not good to eat the same food every day because you're not going to be getting, you want different nutrients on a regular basis. Balance your pH. I walk around with pH test strips in my pocket all day long. No charge. I test everybody's pH. I tell them to go home, check their pH. I tell them to check their urinary pH. Eat multiple small meals. You're not designed to eat 1 or 2 gluttonous meals a day. That's not how we're made. Chew your food. When you chew your food, if you chew organic food, you release enzymes. You increase the surface area. And this is what our mothers told us anyway, so we should do it.